Well, hello there. Good evening, wherever you are in the world. Good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you are. So, I'm just bringing you some updates on the case of the John George murder. Now, there's been a few things that have happened, so I kind of tend to try and give a few days so that we can just catch up with everything together. Otherwise, I may as well just pop on a video. So, today I am going to show you another updated podcast that Crime World has done regarding the funeral of John George, and then I want to go through a couple of the articles that have come out in regards to what's kind of gone on in court. So I'm going to start. I think the best place is with the podcast, because it's talking about the case and the funeral, and we know that the funeral was yesterday, so I didn't want to post anything or do anything around that, because I just didn't think it was appropriate, and I didn't want to stream the funeral. If anyone wants to see the funeral, they're able to go and view it on the funeral director's Facebook page. It is on there. I just kind of don't feel it's appropriate for me to do that when it's there for people to watch, and obviously you can watch that in your own time with privacy. Hey Michelle, I know you're getting ghosted on that bloody TikTok. Honestly, TikTok, do better. Michelle hadn't done anything wrong. We need to fix it. Right, let's go over to, we'll start with Crime World. I like a bit of Crime World because it's got Alison Morris on there as well. Let me just make it a little big on my page.
Alison, we haven't spoken about the story around John George for a couple of weeks. I understand the funeral is finally going to be happening this weekend. The family have been a long time waiting for the body to be returned.
Yeah, they've been put through the ringer. So they eventually did get the body back, but at the time they didn't have any paperwork from the Spanish authorities detailing the cause of death or anything like that. So they were then informed by their police liaison officer that the Spanish police had confirmed that the autopsy showed that he'd been stabbed and then shot. This was something they didn't know, and you can imagine that's quite distressing to find that out. And then, with the advice of their solicitor, they're dealing with Kevin Winters here in Belfast, they decided to have an independent autopsy carried out just to make sure that they had all the proper information that they needed. There has been cases before, and I'm sure you have covered cases where people have been murdered abroad. They've come home when they were either cremated or buried, and then other things came up later on, and there was no way of verifying that. So they just decided to have an independent autopsy carried out. They have finally got his body home to their house in West Belfast, and they've asked that they have some privacy today, and then I think that they're opening for the wake from tomorrow, and then his funeral will eventually take place then on Saturday.
Yeah, and for those listening, we're recording this on Tuesday. Wake is happening tomorrow, which is Wednesday. And is it expected to be a big funeral? There's been so much publicity around this, and obviously the family has got a lot of support.
They're a very big family anyway.
I can confirm that if you go and watch the funeral, the room or the church hall area was packed. However, I will say that the audio isn't great, and that's probably another reason to kind of go and watch it directly on the page, because by the time I do something with it and pop it on here, the sound, can be a bit less than it was in the first place. But it was a big room, and it was packed, and like I said, the people that went up to speak, you couldn't hear them talk very well, and you couldn't even really hear the vicar that was overseeing the service as well. Like, it was really difficult, but just to kind of, you can play it and be in the moment, especially if you followed this case from beginning through to where we are now. Sometimes people just, want to be able to sit and, have George and the family in their thoughts while the service is going ahead. But it looked pretty big to me.
They have a big extended family. They're a mixed family. So John George's father, Billy, is from a sort of Catholic nationalist community. His mother is from the sort of Protestant community, and they have a lot of friends and family on both sides. So I would imagine even just with their extended family alone, it would be quite big. And then obviously there's a lot of friends and sort of supporters and things as well. And there'll be, I mean, there'll be a lot of media interest in it too, just because there has been so much media around it. So what else happened, I suppose, in the meantime, since the last time I spoke to you? The arrest warrants were issued in relation to the suspect from Northern Ireland. So he is someone who John George went to visit this person in Spain. They then spoke to his father in the days after when he didn't board the plane and he was missing. The father had said, look, I'll come to Spain, and it was all very friendly. But then when he arrived in Spain, this person says, well, why would I tell a stranger where I live? Wouldn't tell him where he was. And then the phone has been switched off ever since. All the social media was closed down, and they had moved to a different location. There was a lot of misinformation about where they were. So we know that the guy from the Czech Republic was arrested. He was then bailed by the Spanish authorities. He has told Spanish police, and the judge appears to have accepted this, because the judge in the case said he was being questioned as an accomplice to murder, not as the actual killer himself. And it seems to be that the guy from the Czech Republic may have been the person who led the police to the location of the body, because it's in a very rural setting, and it was obviously someone with key information that was able to supply that. They have now put out, there's 3 arrest warrants, and the reason why there's 3 is because obviously there are many different regions of Spain which would have their own police service. So, you know, if you go to Ibiza, you're in Spain, and your Canary Islands, you're in Spain, you know, Mallorca, you're in Spain. But so they all have different regional police forces. So there's an internal Spanish arrest warrant. So if this person is anywhere in Spain, they can be arrested on that. Then there is your European arrest warrant. So that's going to cover any EU countries in case they may have driven across the border into Portugal, into France, wherever they may be. So that'll cover those. And then obviously there's speculation that they may have fled to Thailand. We know that someone who they were in business with in Spain, so they were using a guy from Spain. Well, he had an English passport, but he lived in Spain. They were using him to hire properties and shops and things for him in his name. He did go to Thailand straight after Christmas. So there's speculation that he may be in Thailand, although I'm not sure how true that is. So there's an international arrest warrant as well. And Interpol are working very closely with the Garda Civil in relation to that. And I can't see how much longer this person can stay on the run, because, you know, years ago people could have went on the run and disappeared and never been heard of again. But the world is not like that now. You know, it's a much smaller place. Technology, you know, now if you go through any airport, you can't go through in a false passport because there's facial recognition on passports. You know, there's red flags in terms of how does you finance your life on the run.
Yeah, it's expensive, but it's also highly stressful. People on the run who've been on the run will tell you that, like, it's usually, you know, they nearly hand themselves back in the end, because they just can't cope with that, you know, that lifestyle and that constantly looking over their shoulders.
Also, and I mean, obviously we can't name this person. There are very specific rules around the Bloomberg judgment and everything else. So I mean, we can't name people pre-charge. But this person is, I suppose I should say, he's very distinctive looking. He wouldn't be someone who could hide.
And there you have it, boys and girls. There you have it. If you're following, covering cases as you should be, it's we shouldn't be naming this suspect. And that's one of the reasons why you might think, oh, why is After Dark not naming this person as a suspect? That's the reason, the exact reason why. And I try to abide by the same rules as the media are governed by. It's the best way as a content creator, so you don't get yourself into trouble. And you're trying to tap the screen, Nettie. That's funny. So that's the very reason why we don't do it. And if you're doing it, then it's on you. But you know, I would rather not do it and hold my head up and think, right, I've not hindered anything, I've not done anything. And also just, you know, just in case we have got the wrong person who we think it is, I don't want to be sued. And that's a very real possibility. People don't think about that. But the most important thing for me is to follow the rules that govern the media outlets. This all kicked in after the murder of Joanna Yates, where they'd accused the the landlord, of murdering her, and he hadn't done it because he'd been arrested. He got a hell of a lot of flack and stuff online, and social media went mad on him, and basically his life was kind of never the same for a long period of time after that case. And so the media now have strict rules that they have to abide by, and this is the reason why we don't mention the names. We just refer to them as the suspect. Safest way to do it. So that's why I'm not doing it, and until we get an official piece of paper that says his name on there as the suspect, I'm not naming him. Simple as that. Bugger. I'm not entirely sure what the what we would get for that. I don't want to know. But I don't need to know, because I'm not gonna name him as a suspect. That actually they might go on and tell us. I'm not exactly sure. I just know that we need to stick and go by the rules of the media. I guess you can get into a lot of trouble. I guess you could lose, if you're an official journalist, you could probably lose your license. And in terms of what we're doing, we have to be so careful. Hey, Nick, I've lost the page. I haven't lost the page. I've just lost the tab. Give me a minute. I'm sure they'll probably go on. But if they've got the rules to follow, we'll follow. That's what I try and do. It's the best rule of thumb as a content creator that you can follow. Don't put out bollocks. Don't put out bullshit. Stick to the facts. Stick to the facts as best you can. Because we should know better. We know better. I don't need a criminology degree to know that you've got to be careful. Just a bit of common sense will do.
Very easily. And so it's a very distinctive, person who the police are looking for.
Yeah.
He would have to stay indoors constantly to avoid detection. I'm not sure how sustainable that would be in the long term. The family, though, have also been pressing the PSNI in relation to who is assisting this person on the run. So there is speculation that this life, the life on the run is being financed by someone based in Northern Ireland. Are they sending money? How's that money being sent? How's it being transferred? Can that be traced? Is there a way of finding them through that? And so there is, I can't imagine this could go on for much longer before we will see more arrests.
How much can you say about what you think happened? What was it all about? I know he went on a holiday and there was sort of issues around, people living a particular lifestyle, around drugs and all the rest of it. Was this just an argument that went too far, or was this something more planned, do you think?
I do think that obviously these are people who were living, let's call it an alternative life. There is a lot of drugs involved in this. There's a lot of mayhem involved in their lives. They also had access to weapons. We know that, as well as some of the people who they were dealing with were not just dealing drugs, they were also dealing in guns as well. But this is not, a cartel killing. This isn't, I think people going, oh, there's £30,000 of debt, all utter nonsense. I genuinely believe that this was a culmination of several days of bad feeling and an argument that has just escalated and went wrong. And I didn't know John George, he was involved in criminality, but it would have been on the sort of petty end of the scale. It wouldn't have been anything that I'd have been dealing with. So I didn't know him before he was killed. But I do know that he was handy with his fists. He was a former boxer. He was known to be someone who can handle himself. And you often find that then if there comes to be a fight between two people, and one knows that he hasn't a chance in hell of beating him in a fight, then was guns introduced. But it was clearly very, very, very pre-planned. The family did receive information that came from someone who was on the periphery. So, there's a cast of thousands involved in this. There's characters who were coming and going. There was young runners who were being brought over to deal drugs. Some of them have sort of broken ranks, if you like, and we're speaking to the family. One of them claims that there was a plan to try and, move his body and bring it back and put it on a bed in one of the apartments, and claim that, he had tried to attack someone and that it was self-defense and all this. And then obviously that plan was changed to leave him in a very rural area. None of that could have been done without the help of several people. And there's still a car that was used in the transportation of John George, either alive or dead, which hasn't been found. And the family have been told that is under canvas somewhere, just parked in Spain. And you know yourself, if you go to that part of Spain, you do see cars quite often just covered over with canvas. People, if they're going away for a few weeks, cover their cars because of the heat and the damage that the sun can do to them. So it wouldn't be that unusual to see a car parked in a side street, with a cover over the top of it. So that car is still somewhere in Spain, and I would assume holds really vital evidence in terms of DNA and who was in it and who wasn't in it, and whether he was alive or dead or bleeding when he was in that car.
For sure. Well, look, I suppose until the other side of the funeral and to allow the family time to grieve, we'll reconvene at a later date on this story. Thanks, Alison.
Well, that was short and sweet, wasn't it? But it was interesting, and she basically uttered some of the words that I'd uttered. So that's Crime World. You can keep on top of stuff there. I just wanted to share that with you guys because I thought it would be interesting, and there's just a lot of things there that I agree with. So I just want to go into what's happened since is I'm just going to put John's face here for a minute while I'm talking to you guys. Yes. Okay. So, two of the suspects that have been in contact with were summoned to the court. So I'm just going to read you what that looks like. So, it's a screenshot that I've got, so I can't show it to you because it's under a paywall as usual, and it's from Alison Morris, who is a journalist for the Belfast Telegraph. So she has been in contact with the family, as has down the Rapids, as we know, and so I've got no reason to disbelieve at this point, what Alison's saying. I know there was a bit of doodles with information being released, but it was a highly emotive time when that was released, when John George's body was found, so it just kind of got a bit emotive, but it is what it is. So 2 men are to appear in court. It's obviously since happened, so I'm just giving you this and then I'll give you what happened in Spain. And this was on Friday in connection with the murder of John George. They were appeared to summon to the court in Torrevieja in connection with murdering him. We know, as you just heard there, that we learned he was stabbed and then he was shot. These people, one of them is Michael Mali from the Czech Republic, and we know who the other man is, but I'm not going to name him because he's not been named in the article by the media either, but we know who it is. And we know he is from Northern Ireland, and he has an address in Orjuela, in the Costa Blanca, and they were to appear in front of the judge for questioning. The summons was served earlier in the week, and this summons apparently describes them as witnesses to a homicide. And at this point on there is no suggestion that either one of these men that they've summoned to be in front of the judge is responsible for taking the life of John George. So, as much as, we are wanting to scream and shout that we think differently, we have to work with what is being put in front of us at the moment. And all that could change. That could change in time. We just have to trust the process. And at the moment, they are witnesses to what is going on. Nettie. So what they face, should neither of them have turned up, is a 200 to 5,000 euro fine. Now, I don't believe that either one of them would give any bollocks to that fine. If they didn't want to show, they're not showing. It's as simple as that. We know that they're in the trades of rugs and stuff, and to them, 5,000 euros is probably a drop in the ocean for them, and they could probably pay it no problem. And that's even if they were found, because just because they don't show up Thank you, Nick. Thank you for the super sticker. Just because they don't show up and all that business, doesn't mean they're going to be found either. So that's should they fail to appear. And like I said, I don't think they'd care either way. Now, obviously, the alleged murderer remains on the run. Okay. So for the smart Alec who came into my TikTok comments on my video earlier, obviously from a camp that they can stay on, if you actually watch my video, today's one specifically, you will have heard me repeat that the alleged suspect killer is on the run, right? Because he is potentially in Thailand. Nobody knows where he is. He's gone AWOL. He might not even be in Thailand, but that's where we think that he could be. So, if you're going to come to the comments and that and be a dick with the facts. And obviously, we know the history. We know how John George ended up out there. His family is saying it's for a holiday, but most people are aware that there could be something more underlying as to the reason that he went. But it doesn't matter that, whatever reason he was there for, he went missing. He's a person. He needed to be found. And that was the aim. His body has been found. Now, there is a murder investigation, and everybody that's shared that information to help, keep John George's name out there has done the jobs that they needed to do. And to an extent, we still need to do it because we need the court and the Spanish police to do their thing so that they don't get away with anything that they've done or been a part of. So, we know that the other person is on the run, and we think we know who that is. But sticking to the guidance of the media, and for all those reasons, we don't need to name them. We know who they are, and us putting their mugshots out is going to do anything, is it? It's not going to do anything because currently there's no official poster saying that he's wanted. Now, obviously, this article goes on about everything that we already know. But then we did get to find out that the Belfast Telegraph had published about the car, and I did post a video about that on my TikTok. I don't know if I posted it over here, actually. I think I did. I might not have done. But I will post it if I haven't. I'll double check. I got a bit overwhelmed with videos the other day. But with the car, they are after a black BMW that they believe was used by the suspected gunman who was on the run, who at the time was staying in the Alicante region of Spain when obviously this happened. And like they said in that podcast, which was what I said in my video, the car was covered in a black canvassy thing, and that's normal to do that in Spain to protect the paintwork, I guess, due to the extensive heats that they have out there. So they are looking for the car because obviously it would have evidence. But I mean, this is all way down the line. So the car is being sought after because they do believe it will hold vital forensic evidence in there. Now, as mentioned, the arrest warrants were released, and that's not one for each of the persons that we think. It's for one person, and they're just different warrants, and that is. And I've looked on Interpol and that I've not seen anything with any details, and the police hadn't released any details. And so at this point, we shouldn't be releasing their details because the one thing that the Spanish police do is they work under the some secrecy. I believe it is. It's called the Delmac and he lives out in Spain, and I believe this is true. And that's why we don't get any information. And so we need to respect the investigation. I mean, after the investigation, if it hasn't brought justice for John George, that's when we can start screaming and shouting. But up until then, we shouldn't be affecting the investigation. We have to give it its course, and that's what I plan to do. I know that sounds not very exciting, and doesn't, excite viewers. But to me, justice is more important, and so we continue down that path. We'll share the information as we get it, and if justice isn't done, we'll shout about it. Absolutely, we will. So these men were summoned to appear to the court. And I'm going to tell you what the next article says. I'm going to show you what the next article says. Now, again, this is written by, let me just pull the page up. Where did it go? I want to make sure I've got the right article. Hang on. No, that's not it. That's what I just had on. Oh, I've just lost John George's. Wait, why does that do that? Let me just do that and hopefully it will bring it up. Okay, hang on. Don't do paywalls. So, this article is written by Alison Morris, the person that has also been in touch with the family. So I'm likely to take on board more what she says than anyone else. So, okay. Wait, let me get rid of that. No, I did not want to. I've just closed the tab of another thing. I'm working on about 10 things at the moment. It's hard work being me. It's hard work working with me, isn't it? Okay. Let's stop that screen share. Oh, did I have the screen share there? Bloody hell. Come on. AD, wakey, rise and shine. It's not that difficult to run the show. Clearly it is today. So you can see the article was written by Alison Morris. And we're going to talk about what happened a little bit. So apparently someone thought it was a good idea to be the solicitor for one of the suspects. And they're not a solicitor, they're just a content creator because he didn't have legal representation. Not a good move. Anyway, moving away from that because I'm not really interested in doing something so stupid. Going to the Belfast Telegraph, a man was ordered to appear to make a statement about the murder of John George. We know that they said they were witnesses, they weren't involved. But he was apparently evicted from the building because he showed up intoxicated. Hi, Sarah. It is a bit strange over here, but this is going to be the format when I'm eventually able to purchase the laptop that I need. I keep avoiding doing it because I've got my MacBook, and it just pisses me off that TikTok won't have it on there. Right? You can only do it on Android laptops and stuff or a PC. And I'm not at a point where I'm in a place to even consider a PC just yet. That'll come down the line. But I need an Android laptop. And when I do that, that's what my TikTok is going to look like. I've just been anti doing it because I want it to look like this, like it is over here. But I have to have an Android so that I can use Live Studio. They're anti-Mac. They just say they don't support the format at the moment, which is a pain. It looks better. It's no, I haven't yet, Nick. And obviously I've got to look into the right laptop for it to work effectively. Otherwise, it's wasted money if it's going to buffer and all that. So I need to have the right specifications. But no, I haven't. It's still in the account. Although, having said that, though, it's looking like I'm going to be forking it. So, as you know, with Cora, I have to pay her fees for every month, her insurance, but her co-pays are going to be £40 a month. It seems, because they've upped the copay, and I've just received the first increased one, and it's £44 for everything she's had. So as well as her monthly insurance, I've got to pay £44 as well for her blood tests, her cytopoint, and that's with the vet saying in the form, the vet's put in there that it's a repeat consultation, because if it's not, it's like 80 quid. But the vet's put it down as 66 quid because she's a nice lady. But it's there, but it'll probably get swallowed up with the dog. But I'm going to put some of it towards a laptop, because I want it to look like this. Yeah, it's weird, but it's quite nice for me because I'm not on screen. I don't want to be on screen all the time, and on there I have to be. So I utilize this time to not be. But it is what it is. I will get it sorted because I want it to look like this, because then I can show you things in a much better format. And it's outgrown the old format. I outgrew that very quickly, but we are where we are. I just didn't want to. I just don't want to buy an Android and then they say, "Oh, we support MacBook now." Fuck you, TikTok. If you do that, I'll be so angry. So yeah, it's still there. I haven't done anything with it, mate. Don't worry. It's still there. But it has to be the right format. So I need to look into it. Anyway. I know, but I mean, you know what it's like. It's the dogs are so important to me. Like, they keep me sane, and I love them dearly. But I will sort it. Don't worry. It's just life, isn't it? It's just life. Anyway, let's get back on task. Otherwise I'll be moaned at for not keeping to the task in the room. So he turns up intoxicated, and no judge is going to entertain that, because you can't rely on the information that's coming out of his mouth. I mean, I don't think you can rely on the information that comes out of his mouth anyway. But he apparently turned up intoxicated, guys. Not his best move. So apparently this was recorded. Now, I don't know whether or not this is the stuff that people keep trying to refer my followers over to somebody over here, but I personally don't celebrate or show stuff like that. And so any comments that direct people over to watch that, they will just get deleted. I mean, it's a bit desperate if you're coming in and saying go over and watch it. If people are there, they're there, and I have no issue with that. But don't come on over to my chat and be directing my followers over there. If they're followers, and they'd have already seen it. But that's just begging for desperation, I reckon. So, you know, we don't need to do that. And if I see the comments, the mods will remove them. So I don't know if it is the same video or not, but there is a video apparently showing that he is having a bit of a to-do with the Spanish police. And he was slurring his words, and he was unsteady on his feet. Well, he would be if he was intoxicated, wouldn't he? Oh yeah, I already mentioned we don't play lawyer when we are it's not what's your fault, Nick? It's okay. That's called engaging with the chat. Because I can see it at the moment as well. Yeah, it's not a good idea to be someone's representation, is it? Or make out like, you know, you're kind of there because they don't have representation. It's not your job. And you're not an attorney. It's a bad look. and again interfering in a case where one shouldn't be. That's just my opinion. And if that person had come into my chat, I'd have told him to go. Simple as that. I'm not there for representing or helping anyone that's involved in a potential murder. Oh, yeah, I thought it was a joke when someone told me about it. Just can't get my head around that. Each to their own. Anyway, as I'm moving on. So the solicitor who is acting for the family said that the man should now be arrested until he sobers up and tells the authorities what he knows. And I agree. I mean, they probably don't want to arrest him because they're going to have to be responsible for a drunk in their cells. Whether he's then, I mean, he should probably get fined for turning up to court drunk as a skunk, but whether he will or not remains to be seen. But that's what seemingly has happened. And, you know, did anybody really need to be a witness to that? That's not, the solicitor is aware that he turned up drunk. He doesn't need anyone to be in his pocket to confirm his drunkenness. So he was drunk and he shouldn't have been. You can't take a statement from someone under the influence. Now, the solicitor is Kevin Winters, who is acting for John George, his dad, for John George's family even. And one, they know what they're saying is, we are told, sorry, I've suddenly come over very, I think my blood sugar's just dropped. I think I'm just very hungry. I don't know what's wrong with me, like, the last couple of days. I've just been hungry. I don't know why. And I feel a bit weird. So I'm just going to try and press on, then go and get something to eat. So it says, we are told that one of the persons summoned to the court had been removed because he was unfit due to his intoxication. If that's correct, then action needs to be taken immediately against him, and I agree 100%. Whilst it is an entirely different criminal justice system in Spain, agreed. Nevertheless, I expect there to be enough power within the court to sanction this man for his state of inebriation, and that's something that we'll have to see if any of that happens, because he should be. It says here, along with Michael Maley, I don't even know how you say his name, from the Czech Republic, the Northern Irish national, not named, with an address from Orihuela, whatever, on the Costa Blanca, was ordered to appear before the judge for questioning. The summons served earlier this week described them both as witnesses to a homicide. No suggestion that either were responsible for taking the life of John George, and then about the fines is there. And the alleged unaliver remains on the run and is being sought by Interpol. Not once did I say that he was in Spain, because that's not what the article said either. While Mr. Marley did appear before the judge, do you see that? Yeah, Alison Morris, who's in touch with the family. Do you see that? Mr. Marley did appear before the judge, so I've got to take it that he appeared before the judge. The second man, we know who was ejected from the premises. Oh, I feel like I'm making some digs today. A video shows him arguing, as I've just said, and the solicitor said, we now call upon the authorities to take all the steps to get him back into court ASAP, preferably without him being intoxicated would be good. The threat of a night in the cells would be a salutary reminder of the need to show some respect for the court and the bereaved, because for turning up like that, you're not showing respect for either. And if the reports are correct, then there was none of that on display today, and the witness needs to be hauled back into the court immediately. So I'm just going to take what this paper is saying. Alison Morris has been in touch with the family. Granted, she wasn't in the pocket of the person who is inebriated or whatever, or because he didn't have representation, but she is got a pretty good sense of the information, so I'm just giving you the information that she's put out there. obviously we'll find out more about this, won't we, in the days and that are coming, as to whether or not he summons back up, whether or not he pays the price for his actions for turning up to court drunk. I mean, Jesus, I mean, I'm not sure which one. I mean, she could have been there for Michael, standing there as an attorney for him while he was in there to give evidence. And I have to say, I'm pretty confident that in a courtroom, you're not supposed to be in someone's pocket on the phone as representation or to record the proceedings or anything like that, if that's what happened. You wouldn't be able to do it in the UK. You can't do it in the US. It has to be official cameras or you get thrown out, or official recordings or you get thrown out. So that's a bit dodgy doing that, because you could probably ruin the case doing that too. But it is what it is. It wasn't me, so I can carry on with my business knowing that I've not interfered and caused any issues for justice for John. It's not a good idea. I mean, especially with the Spanish police being so secret, I'm pretty confident that just wouldn't have been allowed, because they are under secrecy. Like, they don't tell you anything, so they're not going to allow that. If he's to have representation, it would have had to have been representation. So maybe that was put forward that she was the representation. I don't fucking know. I don't care. It weren't me. I'm just doing everything that I'm doing. And it is what it is over that side. As long as John gets justice and that's not affected, that's what matters. But that's the updates that I have on the case at the moment. It sounds like it was a bit of a bloody nightmare. Each to their own. Let it be a nightmare. I'm just going to carry on doing my thing. I will be having a premiere at 8:00. Do come and chat with me. I won't be on live. I will just be in the chat. It's my podcast. I'm a bit nervous. So don't know why I'm a bit bloody nervous, but I'm a bit bloody nervous. Because I ain't done one for a long time and there's a lot that goes into them. And it's the first one, and I recorded it a while ago. I've done some others since then, ready for publishing, and I'm now working on another one. So I am just a bit taddly nervous about it. So come and chat with me in the chat, and then give me your feedback. Give me your feedback, because I appreciate it, because that's the only way I can learn is from feedback. And if sometimes we get things wrong, and if we get things wrong, I can always amend anything that is not correct. I'll always stand corrected if something's not quite right or I've missed something out. But yeah, any feedback on that information, any feedback, if you get any information on John George as well, as long as it's from a reliable source, send it to me at my email, afterdarkcoffeeandcrime@mail.com. Make sure that you have hit the thumbs up. Make sure you are subscribed, because if you are not, you're not going to get notifications. And sometimes YouTube unsubscribes people too. I don't know why. Sometimes they just do. So make sure you've done all of them things, and let me know your thoughts on the podcast tonight. So hopefully I'll see some of you here at 8:00. I will be in the comments with you, and I look forward to it, excited and nervous all in one. But I will see you guys very, very soon. Stay safe. Have a good rest of your day. Bye, guys.